Or what? There was this song I just remembered, and I'm like, this song we sang at morning prayer when, your hands must be like this. If you turn it when you're some king, bisu. And we used to sing this, Jesus, how lovely you are. You are so kind and so kind. You shine as the bright morn. You should be doing your head like this because that was what we were doing. Aha. Then your hands will be going. Jesus, how lovely you are. You are so gentle, so pure and so kind. And I like this part. You shine as the bright morning star. Jesus. You know, I just realized by singing this song over and over that, yes, we are fans such a power. Oh, seriously, like we've been speaking very well of Jesus since we were infants. And it is true, we believe it, and we quote unquote, we made him feel like you are gentle, you are good, you are kind. And you shine as the bright morning star. And that was true of him. And we repeated and sang it. And we accepted that that is the nature of Christ. That is him. And then I realized that we are not the only people who speak well of Christ. But can you believe it? Christ speaks well of us as well. When we are telling Christ that you shine like the brightest morning star. And he's like, wow, that is me. And now Christ is about to tell us what we are. What we are. Because we have heard over and over and over that Jesus will tell the people, I am the light of the world. But did you hear him today? We thought he was the one. Then Jesus comes to tell us, you are the light. You are the salt of the earth. You are a city set on a hill. The many things we have said about him, now he wants to speak the same to us. Let us go to Mary. I wonder how she was able to keep all these mysteries in her heart. How she was able to ponder over them over and over and over. For about 30 good years before that boy, Jesus Christ, left the house and started his ministry. That woman was always with him. Shall we, in a brief moment, ask her to help us as we reflect on this word? Hail Mary. I believe in the power of the word that can create and make. I believe in the power of the word that can create and make. You remember where we are now with Jesus as he's speaking. Last week, where did he go and where was he sitting when he started teaching? On the mountain. He's still on the mountain. And he spoke and spoke and spoke until we got closer when he was creating a remnant. And then he looked at us and said, blessed are you. And now we are so close. So he started who we are as a blessing from last week when we got closer. And this morning, he's about to continue. The first thing I want us to remember is what I started with, that God is so proud of us. God speaks so well of us. Nyankopon wadiye eje fans. I repeat again and again. If you are a Christian, nyame wobo udin eje fans. You can read the book of Job. It happened that one time when God and his angels and the saints, the heavenly saints, all of them have gathered together. I don't know whether it was morning prayer, quiet time, or music rehearsal. I don't know. But God was there with the angels and great men. And then he showed up. You know him. Ukwada Fomoaha, Wednesday born. No, so that we don't confuse anybody, let's call him K. So K Bunsam showed up. And when God saw him, he was like, hey, K, Wabaha. And God is the one, listen, how God is so proud of us, who we are. And God is the one that tells Job, have you seen my servant Job? He tells Satan, he said, have you seen him? On this earth, there is nobody like Job. God was, in these days, it was like God was betting on Job. It's like, have you seen that man, that Job, that Christian, that Catholic I baptized? Have you seen the light of the world? Have you seen that salt of the earth? Have you seen the city I set on the... When you went about, did you see him? God was speaking well of his servant. And Job said, you know, I went there, but you have made a hem around Job. So it's like nobody goes there. If you like, you take the hem. God spoke well of his children. It is not only that. You remember that man called Peter? Jesus led him into catching fish. Jesus explained to him what his name actually means. He is fisherman. He is not fisher fish. He must fish for man. He goes to the sea and he thinks that he is a fisherman and he's instead fishing fish. And Jesus told him, no, you are actually a fisherman. I am going to make you somebody who catches man. And he explained, and you are Cephas. You are Cephas, the rock on which I am going to build my church. And Peter was like, no, get away from me. You don't know me. And Christ explained to him who he is. I want to first of all talk to you about what Christ says you are. It is not about what God said you were. It is not about what you might, can, will, would, maybe, could become. No. It is about what Christ sees when the remnant gets closer on the mountain. When Christ looks at you as you are, what he sees in you, and he says, you are. It is not about what your father told you when you were young. It is not about what your mother said when you made a mistake. It is not about what some report said about you. It is not about what your certificate says of you. It is about what Christ looks at you and he says, you are. And the first reading explains what God says we are. There is a division here in the first reading. And sometimes it is so painful that Christians would always want to take the latter part. Isaiah says that, share your bread with the hungry. There are two groups of people here. I'm talking about what God says you are. God says, share your bread with the hungry. Are you the hungry one? Do you follow what I am saying? God says, you share your bread with the hungry. Who are you? There is somebody who has bread and shares. And there is a hungry person. Which one is God saying you are? God says you are the one with the bread. You are not the hungry person here. It is only a command for you to share what God believes he has given you with others. Don't take the side of the hungry man, because God does not know that you are hungry. God knows that you have bread, and he commands you to share with those who are hungry. God speaks so well of us. You were the one thinking you were poor. You were depressed. You were lacking. You were the one thinking you were the hungry one. God has changed the equation and he says, share the bread I have given you. You have bread. You have a lot of qualities and talent. Share with those who do not have, because you are. That is what God says of us. The second thing God says, bring the homeless into your house. Who has a house here? No, tell me, who has a house here? Are you the homeless? No, but why do you always talk as if you are homeless? Why do you always speak as if God has put you on the other side of the equation? When God has said that you bring the homeless, those who do not have a place to sleep, bring them into your house. How can you change a definition that God has given unto you? Why do Christians love to associate ourselves with the people? Yeah, me the bro. Yeah, only be a downfall. And they like saying it. Abua oni dia. Nyame ama udia. Stop saying we abua oni dia. Nyame ne prano. God is not coming. God is asking you to pra. Omo oni dia no ho. Wonya abua oni dia. God has given you a tail. Abua oni dia nyame ne prano. Oni bi asem. Wane be kan man. You are not oni bi. God says, bring the homeless into your house. God knows that you are okay. You are the one who do not want to accept it. But God says you are okay because He has made you so. The third one. He says, when you see the naked, clothe him. Now tell me, who needs clothes here? Have you ever heard that it was Christmas times and people were bringing clothes into the church to give to us? No. We are those who are admonished and advised. Go and give the excess to others. We are the well-clothed people in the world. We are the richest of all people. We are the people who give in excess. We are the false producers. Any produce false Christians. Yen ye share a manica near the akko nankofaka say it is not broni well, it is Christo ni well, Natadi. Mama Kamonfa. We are the wealthiest people. God says that clothe those who are naked. Why? Because you have in excess. That is what God says of you. Please don't you ever take the other side of the equation. Because God says that you have a house. God says that you have bread. And God says that you have clothes. God has made you okay. Do you know where okay comes from? I have learned okay from the Roman military system. They said that it was not the MNO, it is 0K. And it is 0 killing. When they go for battle and they have to come back and count those who are missing. There is somebody who counts and he says, in my field, when I counted, everybody is okay. 0 killing. Maybe somebody had, on the enemy side, there were 12K. There were 15K. But on our side, when we count, we have not lost anything. We are of a 0 killing people. God has made us so. We are okay. This is where the challenge comes in. The challenge of your nature versus your history. This is a whole problem. The problem is that, okay, Father, you say that I am okay. You say that God has blessed me. You say that God has made me a salt, a light, and a city. Father, do you know my history? Do you know what I can become? Do you know what has happened to me before? But I want to tell you, your history is never equal to your nature. Bear this in mind. I can give you a typical example. Do you know a garage? Do you know what we keep in a garage? It is what? Oh, okay, you don't have garages. Don't worry. A garage is a place that is well built to keep a car. Now, if I don't have a place to sleep, and you give me your garage to sleep there, am I a car? No, I want to tell you, am I a car? If by history, I was not having a place to sleep, and I slept in a garage for 20 years, for 15 years, for 10 years, does it make me a car? My nature is that I am still a human being. Your nature is not equal to your history. Do you know that animal they call lion? You know lions, they don't eat grass. If by history you saw a lion lying in a grass, do you think that a lion is going to stop roaring and start bleating like a sheep? No, it is still in the nature of a lion to eat meat. Do you know bears? Bears. Can I get something good? When I leave this thing, why would it fall? Science students, why would it fall? Force of gravity. Do you know that it is not in the nature of a pen that when I leave it, it should fly? I'm telling you, why? Because something has happened in the nature of pen and it's like, no, this cannot happen. But do you know that if I hold a bird and I leave the bird, you know what the bird will do? it will fly. What is in the nature of bird? To fight against and repudiate that force of gravity that makes everything fall. But I am asking you, if by mistake you see a bird eating on the floor and walking, do you say that the bird has lost its nature of flying? Now look at you and your nature. Jesus looks at us and he says that you have a nature. You are the salt of the earth. That is your nature. That is who you are. You are the salt of the earth. A salt is so common. If you are not careful, you might think it is not important. But you ask our ladies. Ask our ladies. The first thing about salt I like is this. When you are cooking, if you cook, let's take for example a soup. If you forget to put salt at the beginning, do you know that when you remember, do you know you can still put salt in it? It will still be the salt. Do you know that when everything is done, they serve the food on the table. Somebody tastes it and says, and chininim. Do you know you can still put the salt in it? Do you know that salt is the only product made by God whose past, present, and future cannot be affected by anything? It is in its nature. That is the nature God gives unto us. You are the salt of the earth. You can affect even things that are in the past, things in the present, and the things that are yet to come you do not see. If it has already been cooked, I am telling you now, you can put yourself in the equation, knowing who you are. If you are thinking of a future when you will be served to the world, you can still be the salt that gives the value to everything. But what does salt do? This is where the challenge to Christians comes in. Our history and nature. We are supposed to be salt that gives taste to everything. I have come to realize something about the nature of salt and of food, and I am still amazed. You know, if I cook light soup, the taste is already in the light soup. But when I don't put salt in it, unless by medical advice, you know, if I don't put salt in it, the taste is not there. Have you realized how powerful we are? The taste is already there. But unless you put the salt in it, the taste will not be revealed. We have the revelation of the taste of everything around us. That is us Christians. Don't change your nature. Don't be on the other side of the equation. The psalmist has said that, taste and see that the Lord is good. The world believes that the word is good. But the world has never tasted that the Lord is good. Do you know those who brings the value of God to the world? Do you know those people that makes the world feel like, wow, God tastes good? Jesus says that this is a risk I am putting in a divine equation. If God must taste good in the midst of your family, if God must taste good in the midst of your marital life, if God must taste good in your school, in your job places, Jesus says, I must put you in the soup called God. That is the only time that people will feel that, wow, I have tasted and I have seen that God is good. It is the first nature of salt, to reveal the taste of everything. But salt has another nature. Salt preserves. Salt preserves. When something is going bad, I give a typical example, a meat. When it is going bad, not only does it look not so nice, but then if you are returning from the work and you have a meat going bad in your fridge, the first thing you say is, Bibi Ajeha. I said, this is not the scent here. When something is going bad, and sometimes, you know, it has. When you are living in a house, now, excuse me to say, a mouse dies in a certain place and you can't find that mouse. Something has not been well preserved. Something has lost its original nature. And God said, you are the salt of the earth. You are to preserve the nature of good things. You are a preservative of God. You are the one that keeps the things that God has placed on this earth in its right proportion. It is so easy to attain a certain standard in life. But you know what is so difficult in this world? How to preserve it. When you get 90 over 100 in class and everybody is clapping. That is not where the problem ends. The problem is that next semester the questions are going to be tough. Can you preserve your 90%? And God says, you are the preservative of the marks of your life. I told you, God speaks so well of us. God makes us feel that He is so proud when He looks at us and what He has made us to be in this world. Salt preserves. But there is a question that is attached to salt. I know there are so many preachers, so many believers who feel that when Jesus said, but when salt loses its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? When salt loses the taste, how can the saltiness be restored? People think that the answer follows immediately. No, this is a rhetorical question Jesus gave. He says, in case you are the salt of the earth, in case by history you have lost your taste as a salt, Jesus is asking, how can the taste of salt be restored? I want to ask you, who made you a salt? Who made you a salt of the earth? God. Come to think of it. If God made me a salt of the earth, and by history I lose my saltiness, can He who made me a salt of the earth not restore the taste of my salt? That is a rhetorical question. Jesus is asking His people, in case by history you feel like you have lost the taste in life, Jesus is asking you, if God made you a salt, ask yourself, can't He restore the saltiness of you? I'll give you a typical example in scripture. You know the first pope called Peter. Jesus made him save us. He gave him a role. He made him, if you like, a salt to preserve the church. Jesus prayed for him and said, when you are able to stand, preserve the faith of others because you are the salt. It got to a time in the history of Peter, he lost that saltiness. When Christ needed him to preserve that faith, he looked into the eyes of Christ, looked into a certain lady that was asking her a question and he said, this man, I don't know him. And it happened 3 times. He goes here, they ask him. He goes here, he asks him. Do you know after the resurrection what Jesus did to him? Jesus restored his saltiness. Read the Gospel of John. And then Jesus meets Peter. And he asks him, Peter, do you love me more than this? Peter says, yes, Lord, you know I love you. It is a restoration of the saltiness. Then he says, then shepherd them. But he had said that if I were Peter, I would tell him back, God, you said you are the good shepherd. He said, yes, I am restoring you to your place. He who made him, if he has lost that nature, he can still restore it. The second you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. You carry in you a capacity to illuminate. People think that we see light, but it is not actually the case. We see things through light. That is what happened. The psalmist says, oh God, in your light we see light itself. It is through the light of God that we are able to see. Jesus says that through you, things that are hidden should be revealed. You know why our world is suffering from vices? Because we are acting like people whose lights are being kept. Stop hiding yourself among shrouded things. You are a light. Stop covering your nature with circumstances in life. You are a light. God expects you that when you enter into a place where there is darkness of sadness, there is darkness of confusion, there is darkness of bitterness, unforgiving spirit, you are the light. It must shine. You must bring a demonstration of who God is to others, because Jesus has said, I am the light. In the second reading, Paul tells them, I have never heard Paul speaking like this to any church. Paul, the great preacher, says that when I came to you, Church of Corinth, I came trembling and shaking. I didn't even know how to preach to you, but I did not come in lofty and the wisdom of men. I came by a demonstration. I came to bring the taste out of you, to bring the light into the darkness, and it was a demonstration of the power of God. And when I left you, you felt that I have been there, because salt is a demonstration of taste. Light is a demonstration of illumination, and that is what you are. The third, you are the lovely one. You are a city set on a hill. Maybe in our days we don't get what this means, because our phones are full of GPS. If I want to go there, you know, in the olden days, when you are showing somebody where you live, it was by, if you remember, it was by the food sellers, by the way. If you want to come to my house, usi bonsu, mofa right, I'm not ton watching. Otra na, I'm be ton dokono. Ubu left her, the oya biani gari no, or man or baby or baby and tinisif no. Neno aku enim kakra. That was our GPS. That is my house. In those times, this was how you locate a place you are going. You need something that stands tall above everything. Have you realized that olden churches were built with towers so high? No matter where you are. Now, the whole of KTI is shrouded. Sometimes, if you are not careful, you don't even see our Basilica Cathedral. It was supposed to be a light to the world. It was supposed to be a city set on a hill, so that when I face here, I know that, okay, if this one is, that city set on a hill is here, then it means that where I am going, I am either on the east side or on the west side. God says that you are the GPS of the world. If people want to locate their place in life, they will have to look at you. You are the one who is supposed to show people that, hey bro, look at my life. You have missed the path. Christians, we are the ones to show people wherever we find ourselves, in parliament, in workplaces, in the hospitals. We are the people whose actions determine whether people are wrong or not. It is not by any democratic coded rule. No, we are the coded rule of the world. It is by us that people read the scriptures. People will not open a book and look at the Psalms. But when they look at our life, they should be able to know that the Lord is actually my shepherd. The Lord is my light and salvation. Why? Because you are the GPS of people's life. I want you this week to keep who you are in your head, because that is what God says about you. God says that, first of all, you are not the one in need. You are okay. You are not the one without shelter. You have a home to bring others in. And when you are doing these things, Isaiah says, two things are going to happen. Then will your light break forth. Then will your light rises. You have been hiding for so long a time. You have been hiding among things for so long a time. You have been keeping yourself, and the food is on the table and want a taste of it. The world needs us. Without us, the world will go bad. It will smell very bad. Without us, our families are going to collapse. Without us, people will not know where they are going. Without us, people cannot identify the right things to be done in this world. Without us, Christians, people are going to be like people who are in need, but they don't know what they need. Because we have the bread, and the men are hungry. May we get up from this slumber of not knowing who we are. May we tell the world, a hungry world, come here. We have seen the bread. We have found the bread. Come, let us feed you. May we tell the world, come and rest in this place. This is the right shelter. May we call a naked world with vices and clothe them with virtues. Because that is what God has made us. You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. You are a city set on a hill. Don't lose who you are. Jesus, how lovely you are. You are so gentle, so pure, and so kind. You shine like the bright morning star. Jesus, how lovely. You know what you are going to do with this song? You are going to put your name there. You are going to sing it to yourself, because God sings that of you. How lovely you are. You are so gentle, so pure, and so kind. In the morning you will shine like a bright morning star.